Mesechta Menochos Daf Nun Aleph Amar Aleph Tanya Kavosei the Rava. Rava said, Benegeya to that if somebody wants to knead or form the challah or bake the chavitim of the Kohen Gadol, it overrides the Shabbos. And where did he bring your ayah from?
What does it show us?
Rava Paskin Halacha, the chavitim. We're still talking about the same chavitim the Kohen Gadol brought.
Right.
He says that if the Kohen Gadol did it on Shabbos, he did these malachs on Shabbos. He kneaded, he formed the challah, baked it on Shabbos. It overrides the Shabbos. No, where's the makkah? Where's the makkah from it?
Like now they do the challah like a fish.
Oh, but they all
Yeah.
agree that the Kohen Gadol had to make
Yeah. So where does he learn it out, Rava?
Had to be fresh.
Rava learns it out
A fish for pulling.
from Al Machavas. What's haste Al Machavas? Rava says Al Machavas teaches us that the mincha had to this dough that the minchas chavitim he did had to go in a machvas, had to go in a kli shares. So since it has to go into a kli shares, once it goes into a kli shares, it can sich nicht übernachtigen. It cannot have lina. It cannot go overnight. So you can't expect to bake it before Shabbos, put it in a kli, because when it comes Shabbos, you're not going to be able to eat it because it went overnight, lina. Okay, it says, I'll bring out ayah. That's
He makes it on Friday, he says.
yeah, he cannot make it on Friday. He has to make it on Shabbos because if he made it on Friday,
So it's
it went in a
Friday.
kli shabbos, then it goes overnight. It's possible. Tanya Kavasei Rav. We learned in the Brais like Rav. Al Machmas, Melamed Shei Tuna Kli. Al Machmas tells you need a kli shabbos. What does Bashemen come to tell you? Bashemen Teyasa. That's a Hazel Bashemen. You have to put more than the lug that says by a minchas machmas. You have to add more shemen. Says the Gemara, because it's extra. The word is extra, l'shemen. But I don't know how much shemen, how much more. So Gemara already done. I'll learn it out from another place. Nema come by minchas chavitin. It says the word shemen. V'nema lahalam in minchas nesachim, which is brought with a ilas tamid. It says v'yisarin soiles balo b'shemen. Ma lahalam, just like by the minchas nesachim shleish alogim. Isan for a measurement of sailors of Isan. Avkar, let's look at Isan.
They know their amount.
Says you want to oiklach, or maybe maybe you can learn out from a different place. Nema kam b'minchas chavitim it says shaman. V'nema b'minchas nedava shaman. And by that, ma lahalon, just like by minchas nedava loig echot. Avkar loig echot. So the Gemara is going to ask loig echot. That's the normal standard. You're making it less. B'shemen, the extra word shemen is supposed to add. So how could you say you're going to compare it to this? The Gemara is still going to ask.
Too dry.
Yeah, but Paul Mamas, the Taylor says it should be more. It's extra. We're going to ask that later. Let's see which one it's more similar to. Says Gemara, take out the base. Done in tashat mitashat. What does it mean tashat? He says 12 is tadir. That a minchas nedava is every day bikvius. And it's what's the word? Tav shin. The shin, and it's a chayva, and it's doicha overrides the Shabbos and the Tumah. And the Tumah, the Shabbos shin is Shabbos, and Tas is Tumah. That the mincha of this mincha chavitin is a chayv, and it's toder, and overrides Shabbos and Tumah.
It's like a
Yeah, but he wants to say what was in the tchunis from this with minchas chavitim. So he says that you can learn out minchas nesachim because that's also tadir. It comes out chayiv and overrides the Shabbos and Tuma. Vein done in tashat minchas nedava she'ene tashat. A minchas nedava is a yochid, and it's brought on its own. It's not a tzibur, and I'm sorry, minchas nedava. It's not every day. It's not brought every day, and it's not brought, and it doesn't override Shabbos and Tumah. So you can't compare it to minchas nedava. Or maybe done in yogil miyogil. What does yogil stand for? Yogil means yud is the yachid. It's brought as a yachid, and the gimel is beglal atzma. And lamed is levena, meaning minchas. Here he says yachid, Biglal Atzmo, it doesn't come together with another Zevach. It comes on its own, alone. And you need Levena, Tuna Levena. Vein Davin Yagul, Mishena Yagul, Minchas Chavitin, Shu Yagul, Minchas Nesachim. Minchas Nesachim is a carbon tzibur, that's number one. And it only comes with a carbon, another carbon. And it doesn't need Levena. So you can't learn it out from Minchas Nesachim. This that it says by Minchas Chavitin, Seidas Minchas Tamid, Shaharei Hilachah Ki Minchas Tmidim. It's like a Minchas Tmidim. Ma Minchas Tmidim, Shleishes Lugin, just like, because it says Tamid, just like a Minchas Tmidim is 3 Lugin, and of Shemin Li Yisarin for 1 Yisarin, Avzu, so too this Chavitin, Shleishes Lugin Li Yisarin, is 3 Lugin for Yisarin. Rab Shimon says, Ziba Khan, we learn out by Minchas Chavitim from the word Shemen, that the word Shemen means more than the regular Shemen. Minchas Kvasim, and by Shemen, and it says also the extra word Shemen by Minchas Nesachim. Amal Halan, just like by Minchas Nesachim the Shir Shleish Lugin Lisar Nafkan, so too by Minchas Chavitim the Shleish Lugin Lisar. Says or maybe perhaps Riba Kam by Minchas Chavitim says Shemen. The riba by minchas by nesachim that's brought with parim ve'elim. It says also shemen. Malahalan, just like by minchas parim ve'elim. Shnei lugin nishloisha, shnei lugin liyisarein. Avkan, shnei lugin liyisarein. I'll say over here is also only 2 lugin. We need a lemidayma. So we have to see to which one to compare it more to. It says, you want a donin mincha haba isarein. Mincha haba biyisarein. We learn out a mincha that comes with the share of a sarin from a mincha that comes also, which is also brought only a sarin.
The same amount.
Same amount. That we're not going to learn out from the mincha that's brought with double the shiurim, 2 asainim or 3 asainim. In fact, you want to hakufa kasha. The salain is our kasha. Amat b'Hashem. You just said. Hashem is come to add Hashem to add Bahadar and then you say never can Shemen, never Michas Nadav Shemen to tell you no, less Shemen, not 3 lugin, 2 lugin. Amabaya man Tana, who's the Tana that learned Shemen is Lo Isif? Reb Shimoni. It's Reb Shimon. Ubedina man Kamahada, and who's the Tana that says that we should learn out from Minchas Nadava that it's less? Reb Yishmael. So it's 2 different madamim. The one that said Bashamin you have to add Shemen, that's Reb Shimon. And the one that says you need less Shemen is Reb Yishmael. So Rav Huna b'nei Rav Yeshua, Rav Huna the son of Rav Yeshua is Amma Kula Rav Yishmael b'nei Rav Yochanan Breiki. It was all Rav Yishmael. It wasn't one. The Bashamin Lahisla Shemen is Reb Shimon, and this that you need less Shemen is Rav Yishmael. So Rav Yishmael V'achikama Bashamin Lahisla Shemen. By Shemen, you need more than the look that says by a regular minchas machmas. The E, because if the Shemen is only likvaya, is only come to tell you that you need Shemen, like other Menochos. Because I'm sorry, E, if the Shemen is only come to tell you that you need Shemen like a regular mincha, so loy tzarich, then the Torah should have said this word of Bashemen, if it's the regular amount of Shemen you need, don't bring in the word Shemen. Even the Ksibah.
How do you know you need Shemen then?
No, because it's a regular minchas machmas, a regular mincha is a look Shemen. It's always required, yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't have to say it. Even the Ksibah al machmas, minchas machmas damya. It's like every minchas machmas that needs a look Shemen. Since it says the word Bashemen, obviously he's coming to add that you have to have more, that it needs 3 lugin, and not from a minchas nadav that it's only 1, or perhaps maybe he's coming to tell you that you need the share of like shemen. If the Torah would have written the extra word bashemen, a minchas chayta is dry, no shemen, no levain, garnished. That's what he's saying. I would compare it to Minchas Chayta. Right, Minchas Chayta, you're not allowed to make it fancy. That's why he goes back and he says that you have to have Shemen. That's why it says Bashemen.
We only need 1 look, right?
Yeah, Teisi Medina. Still, we have to learn out that in these three lugim, and Rabbi Yishmael want to learn this with the din of Minchas Nesachim because you learn out Tashat from Tashat, right? That's what they both have in common. And that's why we needed a pasuk Sheilos Mincha Tamid to teach us that a Minchas Chavitin in these three lugin of Shemen. Kid the Messiah, Rabbi Yishmael Milsei, like Rabbi Yishmael finished off his words. Rabbi says Kulu Rab Shemen. Rabbi says that by Shemen, that is mentioned by the Minchas Chavitin is coming to add Shemen. And what does it mean? Oiklach lederech zu? Ilo, he's saying if it wouldn't say this, we'll stop over here already. 6:20. Rabbi says the beginning of the price was Kul Rab Shimon, is all Rab Shimon. That by Shemen that says by Minchas Chavitin is coming to add more Shemen. Ve'ilu loy nama, and he's saying that if it wouldn't have said, this is how you have to say by Shemen. The Shemen that says by Minchas Chavitin is lo Shemen, is coming to add more than a lug. That's said by a normal Minchas Machvas. And if you're going to say by Shemen is only l'kbayillah to establish that it's just the normal loy Shemen, loy tzarech. For that we don't need a pasuk for it. Since it says al machvas k'machvas damya, it's like the share of a Minchas Machvas, which is one lug. And even if that pasuk wouldn't say by Shemen yeshli, I would learn out the din from Minchas Nesachim. V'dan dina loy asyalei. And Rabbi Shimon wanted to learn this from Minchas Nesachim because Minchas Chavitin and Nesachim have in common tashat, like we said before, that it's that it overrides Shabbos and it's Tmidim and it overrides Tumah. It's a chayvah that overrides Shabbos and Tumah. And then he says, no, who says you should learn out from Minchas Nesachim? Maybe you should learn out from Minchas Nedavah because they both have in common Yagel, meaning Yachid, and it's brought on its own without other Kabbanis. And the Lamed was Levina, and the Levina. Okay, so since you can learn out it compared to either Minchas Nedavah or Minchas Nesachim, that's why I need to pass Hashem, like we said at the end of the Brisa, to tell you that we need more oil. Then Rab Shimon said, even B'Shemen is coming to add Shemen to have a Kimichas Parmei. Let it be just like a Parmei, which is Shnei Lugin Lisan. What's the Hachach to compare it to Minchas Nesachim, which is it needs 3 Lugin? So then Rab Shimon went back and said it's reasonable because not Minchas Haba Isarin from a mincha that comes from a Isarin, not from a mincha that has a 2 Yisraelis or 3. So the Heilig Mishnah Kain Gadol that died and Loy Minu Kayin, and they didn't as of yet appoint a Kain Achatachtov in its place. Misha Mi Haisa. From which monies did they bring the Minchas Chavit in Kreva to be makar on the Mizbeach? Reb Shimon says it was brought from the Tumas Halishka, from the Machzis Sashachar that they brought, like we just passed. Those Purim, at Purim, we brought the Machzis Sashachar. It was brought from the Yashim of the kind that died. And the Mincha was brought as a Shlema, Isarin Shalim, not a Chatzi Isarin in the morning and a Chatzi Isarin in the afternoon. Rather, he brought a full Isarin in the morning and in the afternoon. But if the Kohen would have been alive, of course, he brought a Chatzi Son in the morning and a Chatzi Son in the afternoon. Tony Rabbanan. Rabbanan, we go, Kohen Gadol Shameis, Loiminu Kohen Achatachtov. A Kohen Gadol that died and they didn't appoint it as of yet another Kohen. How do we know that the money is brought from the Yashim for the Minchas Chavitim till the new Kohen Gadol is appointed? Tamalayim comes the pasuk and tells us by Minchas Chavitim, HaKohen HaMashiach Tachtov, Mibanov Yasei Sam. So, and we dash in the Kohen HaMashiach who died, the Tachtov, meaning one of his children, should bring the money. I would have thought Yaakov Vanu, Lachatzoyin, I would have thought that they could be Makiv Achatzi Son Babekim Achatzi Son Ben Abayim, like the father did, Tamad Lema Oisa. To teach us Kula, it has to be a fully son of Malay Chatzia. Those are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Shimon says Chok. It says by Minchas Chavitin the word Chok at the end of that same pasuk, and the pasuk is come to tell you that a Minchas Kohen Gadol that died comes Mishal from the moment of the tzibur, from the Tumas Halishke, from the Machzah Shekel. And this that it says in the Hemshech of the pasuk Kolil Takta, it can be completely burned, to teach us that the whole thing should be burnt and there shouldn't be shirayim, or according to another piddush, it means that it has to be a complete sudden in the morning and not a complete sudden ben abayim. And not like the Kohen when he was alive that he brought a chatzi sudden in the morning and a chatzi sudden by night. In fact, Rabbi Yehuda, hi, HaKohen HaMashiach, that's what Kohen HaMashiach is coming to tell us. Like Rabbi Yehuda, that's where the children, the Yarshim pay for it. We need it like we learned in the following Braisa. It says by Minchas Chavitin, Zeh Kab Ma'aron Uvanav, Asher Yakiv Hashem, V'Yomi Mashach Haisei. From this that it says V'Yomi Mashach Haisei Yachel, I would have thought Aaron Uvanav, Makim Kabim Echad. I would have thought Aaron and his children, meaning the Kayanim had Yetim, or had Yetis, Amakiv, one Kabim Chavitin alone, on the day that he was anointed Likona, Talmud Lemon comes the pasuk and tells us Asher Yakiv Hashem. These words are miyutaris, are extra l'cheira. So the pasuk has come to tell you that Sha'arnein was makiv the Minchas Chavitin mifnei atzmai on his own every day. Ubanov and the Kohanim Hadiyot were makiv the Minchas Chavitin mifnei atzmai on the day that when they were anointed, on the day that they were dedicated as Kohanim. According to this, Banov Elu Kohanim Hadiyot, that the Banov is going under Kohanim Hadiyot. Maybe it's going on Kohanim Gedolim. How do you know it's going on the Kohanim Hadiyot? And what is he coming to tell you? That he's come to tell you that this mitzvah is Neig L'Deis by the Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol from the children of Aaron that will take his place, a chayv to be makar Minchas Chavitin for the future generations. And it's not a makar for a Kohen Hadiyot that on the day that he was anointed, he brings a Minchas Chavitin. When it says in the Hemshech of the Pasha HaKohen HaMashiach, Tachta mi banav yasa isa harei, so the din of Minchas Chavitin of a Kohen Gadol, Amor. It says Tachta mi banav already, it says. Amani mekayim banav. If you already said that from the word, banav, you know, the Hadiyot from before, we already know, when it says, we know that it's referring for the future generations. What's this extra word in this pasuk? Says that Banav has to be going on that Dietis, that on the day that they were dedicated as Kahanim, they had to bring a Minchas Chavitin. Says if the pasuk come to teach us that a Minchas Kohen Gadol that died, that it comes from the Nechos of the Yashim, Lichtlev Kra, let the pasuk write, HaKohen HaMashiach, Tachta Banav Yasa. My mi Banav. So 1 minute, so we have a kasha. The kasha is, we just finished off saying that the Banav has come to tell you about the Kohanim Hadiyot. Not that the Yashim have to pay for the Minchas Chavitim, it's come to tell us that the Kohanim Hadiyot, when they are anointed as Kohanim, they have to bring a Minchas Chavitim. So how do you learn out from the same pasuk that the Yashim are Mechuyev? Says in Cain, if the pasuk is only coming to tell us, or the reverse, how do you know to teach that Banav is going on Kohanim Hadiyot? Says he wanted, because if it's only coming to tell us that he has to bring from the Nichse Yarshim when the Kohen Gadol dies, Lichtlev Krav, let the pasuk write, HaKohen HaMashiach that died, Tachta Banav Yaseh. My mi Banav, why does it say mi Banav from his children? Which is mashman that one of his children that was anointed in his place should bring the Minchas Chavitin. We learn out from this pasuk 2 things: that Minchas Kohen Gadol that dies, the money for the Minchas Chavitin in the time when another Kohen wasn't yet as of yet appointed, has to come from the Chasam of the Yashim, and also that the Minchas Kohen Gadol is Noyeg L'Deiris, and we also learn out that it's Noyeg for the future generations. Reb Shimon, Hai Oisa, this word Oisa, from which Rabbi Yehuda learned out, Minchas Kohen Gadol, that dies, has to be Makav Shlema. What does he learn out? He already learned out Kolol Tokter, that it has to be a Shlema. So what does he learn out from the word Oisa? That because to bring a Shlema, he learns out from a different pasuk. So what does he do with Oisa? He needs this word Oisa l'Kohen Gadol that was Makiv Achatzi Yison Babek, and he died Umeis Uminu Achitachton. They appointed another Kohen Gadol in his place. Shaloi Yavi Chatzi Yison Mibeisa. He cannot just bring a Chatzi Yison for the afternoon. He has to bring a full Yison, and from the full Yison, he's Makiv a half Yison for the Talmud Shabbein Habayim. But Loi Chatzi Yison Shal Arishan. He doesn't bring the second half of the original Kayan's he's studying for the Bein Habayim. He has to bring from his own. Let him learn out from the Umach Tzisa, half of it and half of it, the second half of it of the Holy Son. Says that's how we know that it has to be a fully Son. Says Reb Shimon Vav Leidashu. Reb Shimon doesn't dash the Vav. Reb Yehuda, who says that the Minchas Kohen Gadol of a Kohen Gadol who died is brought from the Sheyashim. Hi, Chak Olam. So what does he do with the word Chak Olam, which Rabbi Shimon learns that it's brought from the Lishkes Hagazos? What does he do? What does Rabbi Yehuda do with Chak Olam? If it's brought from the Yashim, Rabbi Yehuda learns out that the mitzvah Chavit Kohen Gadol is naik for the future generations. According to Rabbi Yehuda, who learns out Minchas Kohen Gadol that died, that it's brought as a shlema from the word Isa. So what does he do with the Kol Takta? What does he need the word Kol Takta? He needs it like we learned in Abraisa. Ainly Ella, we only know the Minchal Yena, the Minchas of HaKohen Gadol, the Minchas Chavitin. That's mentioned in the beginning of the Pasha, is B'Kol Takta. There we know by Minchas Kohen Gadol has to be completely burnt. Or brought a mincha tachtoina of a minchas kohen hadjit, which is the nedava of a kohen, which is mentioned in the Hemshech of the Pasha. There it says it's beloy seachel. There's a law that you're not allowed to eat it. It has to be completely burnt to Hashem. Menayin sheyesh litn zeh, meaning litnes ha'amor shel zebazeh, ves ha'amor shel zebazeh. From where do we know these two menachos are completely burned and you're over on a law? Talmud Lemin comes the pasuk and tells you kolol. They both have the same word, which is to tell you l'gzeiras shava, that we learn out of l'gzeiras shava, compare one to the other. Nemekan kolol, nemelan kolol. Ma'kan, just like by the Minchas Chavitim, b'kolol takta has to be completely burned. Aflahalan, so too by the nedava of a kohen hedjit, b'kolol takta, the Minchas kohen hedjit has to be completely burned. Umalahalan, just like by the nidves kohen. There's a isa of a loisas on his eating. Akan that by Minchas Chavitim is come to tell you that is a eva loisas on eating it. In fact, Reb Shimon that a Minchas Kohen Gadol who died is Mishal Tzibur Midaraisa, that it brings from the Tzibur, from the Lishkes Hagazis. From the Lishka, Tumas HaLishka, from the Matzah Shakol, is the Araisa. But now we learned in the Mishnah Shkol, the one of his basically 7 things by Inyoni of the Karbonis, the Chachamim were Mesakin. It's not Minat Torah. V'zeh Nehem. And this was one of them. That if a Kohen Gadol that passed away and they didn't appoint another Kohen Gadol, so the Minchas Chavitim is brought from the Shel Tzibur. So how do you say it's not Isa? And what was one of the cases over there? Rabbi Shimon starts saying the other takanos. A guy who sent his oila from Medin Sayam to be sacrificed on the Mizbech, and we learn out from Ish that even a guy can be makir oila. And shalachim on nesachim, if he sent with money for nesachim, krevim mishalei, then you makir the nesachim from his. V'im lav the krevim mishal tzibur. Then we bring from the tzibur. V'chein gersh ameis. So too a ger that died without Yoshme, and he left Kabbanis that come normally with a Nesachim. Yes, Nesachim, if there was Nesachim that he left over also in his lifetime. Then we will mark it from the gers. But if he didn't separate Nesachim in his lifetime, Krevim Mishal Tzibur, then you bring the Nesachim from the Tzibur. And now, tonight, Beznu, Shekayin Gadol, Shameis Minu Kayin, Ache Tachtav, a Kayin Gadol that died, and they didn't appoint as of yet a new Kayin Gadol in its place. Shetayim and Chasei, Krevim Mishal Tzibur. There too, the mission is. The mincha is brought from the tzibur, so you see, it's only a takanas chacham. It's not midaraisa. It's a state to what we learned in the Braisa that says it's midaraisa. And the one Rabbi Avo state takanas havel. By minchas kain gadol shameis, there were two takanas. Midaraisa, this mincha is midatzibur. Minater, it comes from the lishkas, from the tumas halishka, from the machzah shakel. Kiven the chazne chamitcha lishka, but when the chacham saw the pushka of is becoming emptied, because the Kohen Gadol in the May Ma'aser Sheni, there were many Kohanim Gedolim that didn't finish the year because they would buy the Kohuna with money, even though they weren't fit to be the Kohen Gadol. So since there was so many Kohanim Gedolim that were dying, and there was so much time that elapsed till they got the next Kohen Gadol, so they had to bring a Minchas Chavitin. So from the Kabbanas HaTzibur, there was a lot of from the Tumas Halishka, from the Machzah Shekel, emptied it out. So they were masakin. They should bring it the Yot Takinum Lagabe Yoshim, that they should take from the Yoshim the money, given the Chazda Kapashiba. But since the Chacham saw that the Yoshim are negligent and not bringing the money, Ukmu Adaraisas, they went back to what it is Minated, that you have to take it from the Machzah Shekel. It says Al Parah Shleiyah Moyelim Be'efra. An additional takana was in Mishnah Shkolim, they were masakin by the Parah Aduma that they shouldn't have enough from the ashes. Okay, so why do we learn this as a halacha between this halacha as a takana chacham? Why? Because the Araisi. If the Araisi, why is it a takana chacham? The Tanya, we learned the Araisi by Parah Aduma. Chatasim, Malamit Shemaylim Ba. Just like this Me'ilah by Shah Chatais before they become mutter for the Kohanim to eat it. So he is mamad only that ba, only in the party itself, mayelin, that there's a isa me'ilah. Aval be'efra, but in the ashes, ain't mayelin, there's no din of me'ilah. Omer Avashi, so he's saying, so the Gemara is asking, what do you mean that on the parah that they should somebody who has enough in the eighth of the parah, he's not going to be chayv akam milah. That was a takana. I mean, it's minatayra that there's no iser of having enough from the eighth of the parah. We learn it out from the word he, that only the behemoth itself there's a iser milah, but not in the ashes. Says there were two takanas by the eighth of the parah aduma. The araisa takeba. Only the party itself, there's a isa of mi'ila. But in the ashes, there's no isa of mi'ila. Given the chazal, the mizalzel. But when the chacham saw that they're being mizalzel in the ashes of the parah aduma, and they're using it as a refuah for their wounds, because of it, the chacham will the din me'ila, that there should be a isa mi'ila. But given the chazal, since the chacham saw the kapash misavak azois, that they're separating even from a suffix tumah because they're not sure and they're afraid that if it's not a real tumah, when they go under a tree, if it's not thick enough, the branches, so it's not really a oil, so they're not sure it'll be a suffix tumah mace, and they're not going to want to use it because they're afraid they're going to be Ivanis Mila. Ukmu Adaraisa. So they went back and they said, no, there's no Isa Mila by Efer. So therefore, even by suffix tumah, they'll use the Efer of the Paraduma to be metar themselves.